Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Malinga Sise of Urban Harvest Organic Farm. For all of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel, I am so grateful. And for those who are still new, please kindly consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Click on the notification bell so that you never miss out any upload. Share this video, comment in the comment section down below, and I will be so grateful. Today I'm super excited because we are winding up with our brooding. Actually, today is our last day of having these chicks enclosed in this small place, and then finally we shall let them go inside the main chicken house where they are going to spend the rest of their life. But I feel like there is something that we've missed out, we've not yet learned. And because after this brooding, I may take like 6 months before bringing new chicks, because the older birds that are still laying, I still don't have any plan of selling them because they are still performing, and the only thing that I have for them is to boost on their egg production every day. Actually, after when we remove these birds from the brooder, we are going to start boosting on those birds' egg production aggressively. Okay, so that is why today I feel like before we leave the brooder, we have to first learn about the major causes of diseases inside the brooder, because I've realized so many of you end up getting so many disease outbreaks inside the brooder here. And before that, I want us to look at the major diseases that affect these chicks when they're inside the brooder. There are only 5 diseases that I'm going to mention here, but guys, remember that the performance of these birds start from the brooder here. If you don't raise the birds well or manage them well when they're in the brooder, just know those birds will end up not performing well. That is why we were so calculative on the things that we are learning here at the brooder. I made sure that I brought everything. If there's something that maybe we missed out, please, you can kindly write it in the comment section so that we see how we can cover it before it is too late. Now, we have 5 major diseases that affect these birds while they're still here inside the brooder. The first and the most common one is coccidiosis. We have the E. coli infection. We have salmonella. We have Gumboro disease. And actually, Gumboro disease is so deadly that it can wipe up the whole chicks inside the brooder. And then lastly, we have the respiratory infections, or the CID, or the CRD. These are the 5 major diseases that are likely to affect your chicks while they're still here inside the brooder. So we have, I have 6 major causes of these diseases inside the brooder. I want us to look at them one by one. The first one is the poor brooding management. Actually, I've talked about this before, okay? When there is inadequate heat or excessive heat inside the brooder, it will end up weakening these chicks' immunity. That will make them prone to some of these chicken diseases. So at the end of it all, you will end up getting diseases inside the brooder. So make sure that there is the heat that is inside the brooder should not be in excess and should also not be less. I've talked about this several times. Almost every day I mention this. And then when there is poor ventilation inside the brooder, it is also not good. If there is build-up of ammonia smell or ammonia gas, it is also not good, okay? So make sure that when you're setting up the brooder, there should be at least rooms for fresh air coming in and getting out. If not, make sure always you open the door, because the first 1 week is very sensitive. They are so sensitive to coldness. So me, what I've been doing, I was opening the door just right there. Let me show you. Okay. Every morning I open that other upper part to allow fresh air come in and the bad hair get out. And then also, last time I showed you that I've opened this other side. Let me show you also. This other side, I opened it. Okay, I opened it. When their feathers all came, like when they all developed the feathers, I decided to open the other side, okay? To at least also allow the fresh air to get in and the bad hair to get out. So make sure that there is good ventilation inside the brooder. Make sure the ammonia is not built up, the ammonia smell is not inside, because brooders by the way they have tendency of having that bad smell, okay? Especially for those who are not using charcoal. But if you're using charcoal, mixing it with those chicken feeds, trust me, your brooder is not going to have any ammonia smell. That also brings diseases inside the brooder. And also if there is too much dust, okay? I think you guys can see. Let me show you something. This other side of my polythene, you see too much dust, okay? This is not good for the birds. It can bring respiratory diseases. Even you find that some brooders have lots of cobwebs, which is not good. Those are the things bringing diseases inside your brooder. And then if the brooder is overcrowded, okay? If the brooder is overcrowded, it leads to stress among these chicks, of which when the birds are stressed, the rate of disease spread is very, very fast. So make sure your brooder is not overcrowded. Now, secondly, among the major causes of these diseases in the brooder is poor hygiene and sanitation. I've also been preaching about this a lot, okay? Now, if the feeders are dirty, make sure your feeders are never dirty. You can see my feeders are not dirty. If the feeders are dirty, the drinkers are dirty, and the litter is also dirty, okay? Those harbors a lot of bacteria, it harbors a lot of fungi, and it harbors a lot of coccidia, which is all not good. Those are the things that will bring diseases inside the brooder. Now about the drinkers, these birds when they are still young, they drink little water, okay? So make sure that you don't fill up, like if you have so many drinkers of this size, don't fill all of them with water if you have few birds, because that water will end up staying there and you will end up keeping water there like for days, which is not good. It will harbor bacteria which will cause diseases to your chicks. So that is why if you can see, my feeders are very clean, my drinkers are very clean, my litter is very clean, okay? Make sure you don't overpour water in your litter. That is not good. Those are the things that is bringing diseases inside your brooder. And then if the litter is wet, by the way, it encourages coccidiosis and respiratory infection. So please, let us take note of this. And then number 3, we have nutritional imbalances. Poor quality feeds that do not have all the nutrients in them, it will end up weakening the immune system of your birds, and of which it will cause rickets to these birds, and then later it will also lead to stunted growth in your chicks. So make sure that when you're mixing these feeds, for those who have decided to mix the mash, make sure you have all the nutrients that is required for these chicks. Otherwise, your birds are not going to grow at the same pace. Your birds will have rickets. Your birds will be prone to these sicknesses and diseases. I think if you look inside my farm here, you realize that my birds, almost they are all at the same weight, except the 6 birds that I told you that were very, very tiny, of which they are also now picking on the weight very well. Actually, if I had an extra room, I was supposed to separate these chicks and keep giving them the pellets. Actually, I would even give them the broiler grower pellets. That would help them pick on the weight very, very fast. But unfortunately, I do not have an excess room where I can get these 6 chicks and put them there. Okay, we had 12, but the other 6 were somehow, and now I no longer see them, but they were those 6 birds which were very tiny. And honestly, they are still tiny. However, I weighed them last night and they were at 100, like 130 grams, 150 grams, which is still low, because the recommended weight right now is 220 to 300 grams. And surprisingly, most of my birds are at 250 grams and above. Actually, I have one, I got like 2 who were at 350 grams. Those are the ones who overeat, they don't even sleep. So make sure that the feed that you're mixing for these birds have all the nutrients in them. And then number 4, contaminated feeds and contaminated water. I've also talked about this, okay? Make sure that the feeds are stored well in a way that they don't get caked, because when those feeds are caked, they cause diseases, okay, for these birds. And then also dirty water. Like I told you, I think 2 days ago, that I decided to remove other drinkers, because those drinkers, I was putting them down, and when the water gets dirty, these birds refuse to drink the water. Actually, you come in the farm and you find those ones that are a bit low are all covered up with chickens dropping with the litter. So those are the things that bring diseases for these birds. Make sure that the water that your birds are going to drink is not contaminated. I've talked about this before also. Actually, most of the things I talked about them, only that I'm elaborating it more. Make sure that the water is always clean, the drinkers are always clean, okay? And the feeds should not be moldy, should not be contaminated. Please, this is very, very important. Some of you, you just make a phone call to the stores where you get feeds from. You tell them to mix for you feeds. You do not know even what they are mixing. Some of those stores are not trustworthy. They mix the feeds, the maize which is not good, the maize bran which is spoiled, the soya which is spoiled. So please make sure that the feeds that you're mixing for your chicks, okay? Even these pellets. So many times we buy pellets which are already cooked, which have bad smell. I think because most people prefer using the mixed feeds, they say pellets is expensive. So you find that some outlets or some agents end up having like pellets for long inside the stores. So make sure you take note of the feeds that you feed with your chicks. And then number 5, we have pathogen exposure. You find that most farmers bring chicks inside the chicken house which had other birds before. When you're bringing in birds, the new birds inside the old chicken house, make sure you've disinfected that chicken house thoroughly well. Actually, when you sell off the old flock, at least stay for 1 month or more before bringing in the new chicks, okay? Disinfect that chicken house very well. Make sure that all the feeders, all the drinkers are well cleaned, well disinfected 3 times, okay? Wash the first time, disinfect it, stay for another 1 week, wash, disinfect, as you also disinfect the chicken house. Do not bring your chicks in the old chicken house which was not well disinfected, which is not well cleaned. Please, that will expose your birds to chicken diseases, okay? And then also visitors, rodents, other equipments. Please make sure that you limit all those things. Those are things that introduce diseases to our chicks. That is why I told you, me right here, I do not allow people to enter inside the farm here, okay? It's only me and my girl who works here. It's the one who, we are the only ones who enter inside this chicken house. That to protect these chicks from getting these chicken diseases. So make sure that you always protect your chicks from these chicken diseases. And then lastly, we have biosecurity. Biosecurity is very, very important in poultry farming. Whether among these chicks or the old birds, please, let us make sure that we always put a foot bath in front of our chicken houses, so that whoever wants to enter first disinfect their feet before entering the chicken house. Visitors should not always be allowed inside the brooder. Mixing birds of different ages is not allowed, okay? Using old litter is not allowed, and old equipment. Okay, equipment should be used, but please try to clean them thoroughly well, just like I said. But old litter is not allowed. Unnecessary visitors going inside the brooder is not allowed. Entering inside the brooder when you have entered another old bird's chicken house is not allowed. That is why I told you that I now rarely enter our old chicken house, because I'm fearing to get diseases from there and bringing it for our chicks. So those are some of the major causes of diseases inside the brooder. And I told you that if these birds keep getting sick inside the brooder here, trust me, they can end up not performing well. So for today, that is all I had for you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for always coming back. Thank you so much for all your wonderful love and support that you have put upon me to endeavor to allow me do the brooding peacefully, to allow me successfully finish with the brooding. So a new journey is going to start when these birds are out there. We are going to start on the aggressively making sure these birds reach 16 weeks, 17 weeks, 18 weeks, and they start laying eggs. See you next time. I love you all. Bye-bye.